Hi friends. Do you ever find yourself agreeing to do something even though you don't really want to or you don't really have the time? Me too. I'm getting better at saying no, but I still don't like the feeling of disappointing someone or letting them down. Of course, no one can say yes all of the time to everyone and still keep their sanity. If we don't say no sometimes, then our life will get more and more hectic and our burdens will get heavier and heavier, and we won't be able to do the things that we want to do or the things that we are called to do. And that leads to frustration, anger, bitterness, and burnout. It is okay to say no sometimes. And I know that's true because Jesus said no sometimes. Jesus was the embodiment of compassion and servanthood, and he often said yes. But when the request was inappropriate, or when people made unreasonable demands and tried to force their priorities or their timing on him, Jesus said no. For example, Jesus said no to his friends. In the Gospel of Mark, James and John come to Jesus and say, "Teacher, we want you to do whatever we ask of you." In other words, we're going to ask you for something and we want you to say yes before we ask. And Jesus wisely says, "What is it that you want me to do for you?" And they say to him, "Grant us one to sit at your right and one to sit at your left in your glory." In other words, we want to be second and third in command. Now, these were some of Jesus' closest friends, and still he said no. To sit at my right hand or my left is not mine to grant. Jesus said no to peer pressure and to status and position. After the miracle of feeding 5,000 in the Gospel of John, the people recognize Jesus' power and authority, and they pressure him to use it politically. And Jesus said no to that pressure and to the temptation to claim status and position by slipping away into the hills when the people were about to force him to be their king. Jesus said no to solving every problem for every person. In the Gospel of Luke, someone in the crowd asked Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." Well, that seems easy enough. You would think that Jesus would say yes to a task like that, but Jesus said no to him. "Friend, who set me to be judge or arbitrator over you?" In other words, that was not aligned with Jesus' priorities, his mission, his purpose. And so he did not feel obliged to solve every person's problem or give every person what they wanted. Jesus even said no sometimes to helping people. In the Gospel of Mark, Jesus heals Peter's mother-in-law, and word spread like wildfire. And many people came to be healed by him and for Jesus to cast out their demons. Early the next morning, before anyone was awake, Jesus went to an isolated place to pray. Meanwhile, back at Peter's house, the line of people seeking healing was growing. And the disciples came and found Jesus and said, "Everyone's searching for you." Jesus decided not to go back there, but to go to other places where his message had not yet been proclaimed. Jesus was the most compassionate person ever, but he still sometimes said no because he knew his limits. Now, Jesus was God, and God is unlimited. But Jesus was also human, and we all well know that humans are very much limited. We get no sense in the scripture that Jesus felt guilty or defensive about saying no. He simply did so when he needed to. Now, people are important, and we should help others as much as we possibly can. But it is okay and even Christ-like to say no sometimes and to humbly acknowledge our limitations. Thanks for listening. I'll see you again next week.